up, friends? It never is. And today we're going to be reviewing Soft Cell's newest album, Happiness Not Included. This is the 6th album overall by British pop duo Soft Cell, their first album release in over 20 years, as a matter of fact. I was a bit unsure what to expect going into this project, as with a lot of these old school band revival projects, it tends to be a bit of a mixed bag. Would they explore the sultry and dark pop aesthetics of non-stop erotic cabaret, or maybe go back to the erratic and manic sounds of Last Night in Sodom? Unfortunately, all Soft Cell really seem to be doing here is running through the motions of standard synth pop. While not the worst album I've ever heard, it does feel painfully par for the course and dated for a once experimental group. The opening track, Happy Happy Happy, is not the greatest first impression. The instrumental's alright, with an ambient sample to lead us in, alongside the sorrowful synths and twinkling chorus. The vocals, however, are pretty rough, bordering between tolerable and just kind of flat out not good. The spacey ambient sounds of the track are decent enough, but the lyrics are also not that great, feeling kind of boomerish at times, being vague at best and melodramatic at worst. It's like they're lamenting these very vague problems that don't even warrant a response because of how non-specific they are. Bruised on All My Illusions is honestly a pretty good song, featuring a much darker vibe and aesthetic compared to some of the other tracks on here. It's very foreboding in that eclectic guitar and this omnipresent synth bass. The vocals on this one also have a bit of a quirk to them that make them fit this track's instrumental more so than the ones on some of the other songs on here. It evokes at least somewhat of that non-stop erotic cabaret quirkiness. The progression of the song and transition to the chorus is pretty good, and I'm also really digging the background vocals on this one. The lyrics are also quite a bit better here, with more poetic depictions of them looking back on their UK club days and how they're kind of feeling sad and lost and aimless now that their glory days and their prime days are over. It's an interesting topic that I can appreciate them tackling in a very personal way. The collab with Pet Shop Boys, Purple Zone, is also pretty fun, I think. It does feel way more like a Pet Shop Boys song, like from their Electric era, than it does a Soft Cell song, but it's still pretty cool. The vocals harmonize well, and the beat is overall very engaging and lively. It does feel a little dated at times, but I do think this instrumental style helps the guys not really strain their voices as much as it feels like they are on some of the other tracks on the record. It's a light and pleasant dance bop that's harmless fun, and it's delivered with a lot of heart. The lyrics are also kind of an interesting continuation of the previous track, as this song features the guys trying to lift themselves up and start getting back to living after feeling down that their prime is over. Next we get to Heart Like Chernobyl, and this one's pretty cringy, to be honest, with some of the worst vocal performances on the record and some really awkward lines like, "Oh dear, I feel like North Korea in the winter." The chorus is especially rough in the vocal department, and the instrumental just feels very bland and lifeless. It's so sparse, too, like I'm not really sure what they were going for on here. It's all just so limp and dull. The track just comes and goes with little to no presence or fanfare to it. Light Sleepers is definitely one of the better callbacks to the new wave sounds of old, I think, almost sounding like an OMD song at times. This sort of electro ballad that we got going on here always has the potential to be something cool, and I'm glad to see Soft Cell kind of capitalize on that. The vocals actually have a good deal of emotion on this track, and I'm also really digging the storytelling-styled lyric delivery on this one too. The narrative is conveyed well, and the synths and brass are really lush and kind of combine with the beat in a nostalgic and wistful way. It's probably one of the best songs on the record, if I'm being honest. Happiness Not Included, the title track of the project, is also pretty good, featuring a sort of like Castlevania-styled synth beat. It's interesting. It's fitting for a track that's essentially pleading for people to stop sanitizing history and acknowledge the atrocities of the past. The dirty and fuzzy electronic sound is punchy enough for the topic at hand, and again, I'm also really digging how the background vocals are used here. The main vocals do lack an oomph at times, but I think the lyrics do compensate for the most part. Nighthawks is by far the worst song on the record, and it's almost purely because of fucking Mark Allman going goblin mode a la Corey Feldman on the intro and at other points on this song. The main beat isn't even that great, but holy shit are these vocals grating. Keep in mind that this is coming from someone who loves Last Night in Sodom, so I am used to the boys doing like some weirdo shit, but this is just like laughably cringe. The lyrics are again very vague and don't really convey much of anything, which makes every decision on here even more nonsensical. The last 3 songs on the record are okay, largely just being inoffensive ballads, and I think Tranquilizer is probably the best one of the 3. But that's kind of the problem. Most things on this album just feel so safe and par for the course. Compared to the provocative and experimental stuff early in their career, this feels really tame. The vocals and lyrics also really suffered over their 20-year-long absence. There are some good lyrics and vocals on the project, but that's not really the norm, and sometimes they're actually pretty bad. I can appreciate the band wanting to make a return and giving it their best shot, but a lot of stuff on here just feels dated and uninteresting. I feel like it has the skeleton of something good, and we do see that good come shining through every once in a while, but I'm just left feeling underwhelmed at the end of the day. I'm feeling a strong 4 on this newest album by Soft Cell. Of course, we do have to talk about album covers on this show, and this album cover is also pretty bad. It feels like when you first discover Photoshop filters, you know? And you put the image and you have like, oh, it's the fucking harsh filter. We can add some blue and orange. Like, it's so... even the album cover feels dated, you know? I actually really do like the font that they chose for their name and the title of the album. I think the font is really cool, but the imagery is just really not great. The color scheme is just bad. I don't like this album cover very much. But of course, those are just my thoughts on this newest album by Soft Cell. What did you guys think? Do you think this is actually a pretty good comeback album for them? Or did it also leave you feeling underwhelmed as well? Let me know. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell if you too are making a return, and until the next one, farewell.